Today we're going to continue this. We're going to be looking at an issue that's at the core of every one of our beings. We're going to look at this idea of identity. Because this series is not a boycotting of social media. It's not a boycotting of selfies, which we all agree. We could probably use a little less selfie in our life. But it's not any of those things. It's really about a conflict, finding a resolution to a conflict. It's the conflict between who we really are and who we want to be. The conflict between who we really are and who we hope others perceive us as. We've been looking at this idea, this conflict of self, and it's the one that we will all battle. From the day we are born to the time we die, we will always battle this conflict of self. Does everybody remember Milli Vanilli? Was anybody around in that era?
Not that old, but I was alive.
Milli Vanilli, this is a pop duo from Germany, out of Germany, and they had a couple hits like Blame It on the Rain, the song that I sang, Girl You Know It, Girl You Know It. Most of us remember that, the skipping. They were lip-syncing their songs because the producers didn't think they had good enough voices. So one time when they were on a tour, it's like thousands, tens of thousands of people in this room, and the CD, that compact disc that they were using with their song on it, started skipping in the middle of the concert. They ran off stage, and then it came out. This is them winning a Grammy as the best new artist. Not a lot has changed from '88 to now. We give Grammys to crazy people. Beck, Kanye didn't think Beck deserved it either. Anyway, they got a Grammy for this, but they were lip-syncing their songs. They really weren't singing their songs, and it destroyed their careers and their lives. And the only one, the one on the left actually, who died of a drug overdose, unfortunately. The one on the right, he's still around and making music as well. But they were lip-syncing. It wasn't their voices on these songs. And here's the question I'll pose. Do you think God was a Milli Vanilli fan? Or maybe not so much that. Let's put it in a different context. Does God mind if we pretend to be someone we really are not? Do you think God has an opinion on us pretending and lip-syncing someone else's song? Because Milli Vanilli were not the first imposters that we've ever seen. We're going to go back to Genesis 25 and look at this one guy who's a grandson of Abraham the Great. This guy named Jacob, who was an imposter himself, who was pretending to be someone he wasn't. So if you got a Bible, grab a turn with me. Genesis chapter 25 is where we're going to be. We're going to be skipping around a little bit too. 25, 27, and eventually end up at 32. If you didn't bring a Bible with you, we'll have it on the screens. You can follow along with us there. Genesis 25, we're going to start at verse 19 and give you the account of Jacob and his life and how all this came about, how he ended up being an imposter. 19, this is the account of the family line of Abraham's son, Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel the Aramean from Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled within her, so she knew something was going on. She said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she inquires of the Lord. Verse 23, the Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb. Two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." So she gets this promise that the youngest is going to actually be the one that is leading the oldest, and the oldest will serve him. Verse 24, when the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first came out and was red, and his whole body was hairy like a garment, so they named him Esau. Verse 26, after this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So they named him Jacob. Now Jacob means heel grabber. And heel grabber is a Hebrew idiom for like a deceiver or a supplanter or a deceiver or a liar, like what we would call riding someone's coattails. Like you're right behind them, you're trying to catch their glory from their success. So Jacob was that guy. He's hanging onto the heel of his brother and is striving to be first. It didn't have to be taught to him to want to be first. It was innate. It was in his genes to strive to be first, to overcome his brother. He coveted this position. Now you may think it was kind of an innocent gesture from one twin brother to the next, that he wanted maybe just to be close to his brother, but that wasn't the case. When you look at the rest of Jacob's life, you're going to see that this wasn't innocent at all. He was striving constantly to be better than his brother, to be ahead of him, to get what he had. From the beginning, Jacob strived to be first. You and I are in a me-first culture. Everything that we hear is telling us, is preaching at us to be first. You need to be first. You need this. You want that. There's a Taco Bell commercial talking to guys. Wear this, ride that, smell like this, eat that. I mean, that's what culture is telling us right now. You need to buy this thing and your life will be 10 times better. You need to wear this thing. You need to be driving this type of car. You need to look like this person and everyone will like you. It is preaching to us constantly a me-first culture. And so here's the question I want to pose to you. How do we foster a God-first focus in a me-first world? Is it possible to keep a God-first focus in a me-first world? Because that's where we live. The 21st century isn't much different than the 1st century or the 4th century BC. They're all the same. It's in us. It's human nature to want to be first. So Jacob wanted to be first. He's striving for it. Jacob and Esau, they grew up. They got older. Esau was a skilled hunter, and he was loved by his father, Isaac. He was an outdoorsman. He was, hairy, rough, burly guy. And Isaac loved him. Jacob grew up, and it says, quote, he was content to stay at home among the tents, and his mom loved him more. So what that meant is he was a homebody. He was more successful in the kitchen than out in the yard. He had no dirt under his fingernails. He was a mama's boy. This was what Jacob, and I'm not saying that derogatory, it's what the scripture says. He was content to stay at home among the tents. He didn't care about hunting or anything like that. He just kind of hung out with mom. Now, the eldest at this time got two things because of their position, their birth order. The first was a birthright. The eldest would have the right, this was the physical, legal standing in their family, to make decisions that need to be made. So this was rightfully Esau's. The second thing that they got was a blessing. This was the spiritual standing. This is where they would stand between God and the family and make supplication on behalf of their family. God would bless them because they were the eldest. So this was the two things that they got, the birthright and the blessing. One day, Esau comes home from hunting, and he's starving. He didn't catch something, so now he comes home, he needs a meal. He comes to Jacob, hey, I'm starving. Jacob realizes he has the upper hand because he's been at home working on this stew, and he says, okay, I'll give you a bowl of stew, but first you need to sell me your birthright. I want to be in charge of the family. You need to sell me your birthright. Esau says, what good is a birthright if I die from starvation? Like, just give it to me. I don't care about this thing. Jacob says, you swear it? He says, yeah, fine, whatever, take it. I'm starving. So he gives him the bowl of stew, and the deal is made. And Scripture actually says that Esau despised his birthright because of the deal that he made. So Jacob steals this birthright from his older brother. Now he is in charge of the family. When his parents die on, they pass on. Some time passes. Genesis 27, Rebecca, who was Esau and Jacob's mother, I always picture as Angelina Jolie as Maleficent. The movie just came out. She's got the big black thing. That's what I picture Rebecca as. Like, she's got this black cape and she walks around. She's just like pure evil. Anyway, that's my mental picture when I read this. Rebecca comes and says, Jacob, I got an idea. She says, I just overheard Esau and your father Isaac talking. Isaac says, son, go get me a bowl of stew. Go catch me something and make that great stew that you make. And I'll give you my blessing because I'm getting up in age and I want to make sure that you get the blessing before I pass on. So Esau rushes out and he goes out into the woods, out into the wilderness to go hunting. Rebecca says, this is our chance. We need to take advantage of it. So Jacob gets dressed up and he puts some fur on his arm because he wanted to be hairy like his brother. And he brings in a bowl of stew and he comes in to try to trick his father to get the blessing. He already had the physical standing, now he wants the spiritual one. So let's check it out. Chapter 27, verse 18. Jacob goes into his father and says, my father. Yes, my son, he answered. Who is it? He couldn't tell him by the voice. He knew something was up. Who is there? Verse 19. Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. Just listen to this from the jump. Jacob comes in and says, I'm Esau. This is who I am. I'm pretending to be this person, and I don't want you to find out who I really am. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing. Verse 20. Isaac asked his son, how did you find it so quickly? The Lord gave me success, Jacob says. We talked about 9:30. God gets blamed for a lot of stuff, doesn't he? It's easy just to pull a God card. Like, hey, how does this work out? Oh, God, God wanted me to do this. God wanted me to have this job. God doesn't want me and you to be dating anymore. He just told me that this isn't right. God gets blamed for a lot of junk, right? So Jacob pulled God card. Oh, God help me out. God card. Verse 21. Isaac says to Jacob, come here so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you're really my son Esau or not. This is the second time that Isaac's already suspicious to what's happening. Verse 22. Jacob went close to his father, who touched him and said, the voice is the voice of Jacob. Third time. But the hands are the hands of Esau. He did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau. They put goat fur on him. So he proceeded to bless him. Are you really my son, Esau? He asked. Fourth time he was suspicious. Jacob says, I am. Jacob steals the blessing. Esau comes home to find out that Jacob had tricked his father. Now Jacob has the spiritual blessing just as he has the physical one. Esau says, I promise you, if I see Jacob, I will kill him. Rebekah believes him, tells Jacob, you probably need to go. You need to leave because your brother's pretty angry. So Jacob leaves the camp and runs for 21 years from his brother. He has his father's blessing. He has the birthright, and he's still running for his life. He has the birthright, the legal standing to be in charge of his family, and he can't be around to actually use it. Have you ever wanted something so badly that when you got it, it didn't matter that you had it? All of us in our world are striving to get things, and most of the time when we get them, we don't really want it anymore when we finally get it. You see a woman promiscuously dressed, wanting attention from someone else. You'll get the attention, but when you get it, it's probably not for the reason that you wanted. Or guys going around compensating, wanting the attention of a girl, trying to show them how awesome they are and how secure and successful they are by the car they drive and their money clip and their portfolio and all the things that they have, and they get the attention of this woman, but when the money's gone and the car goes to the bank and the job is gone and the accounts dry up, the attention is no longer there. You have it, but it's not really for the reason. Because we're identifying with things that we have. Jacob had this thing that he wanted and he strived for so bad, but when he finally got it, he couldn't do anything about it. When you get that thing you want by going about it the wrong way, it will be absolutely no use to you. Here's the reason why. Here's the thing I want you to remember. If you don't remember anything else today, I know you'll probably remember like a Milli Vanilli costume. That's probably burned into your subconscious forever. But if you don't remember anything else, this is the one thing I want you to remember. God cannot bless who you pretend to be. God can't bless who you're affronting to be. He can't bless this false image of yourself. God cannot bless who you pretend to be. In chapter 32, I'm going to read it out. He has this amazing encounter with God that changes everything. Verse 22, chapter 32. That night, Jacob, he got up and took his 2 wives. He got 2 wives because he was tricked into marrying this one girl. So the deceit that he sowed, he reaped in his own life. So he had his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of Jabbok. Verse 23, after he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. Verse 24, so Jacob was left alone. And a man wrestled him till daybreak. That's a loaded statement. He's in this one spot, and then there's a spontaneous wrestling match just takes off while he was there all by himself in 25, check it out. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, let me go, for it's daybreak. But Jacob replies, I will not let you go. Jacob replies, finally ready, I will not let you go unless you bless me. If you have a paper Bible in front of you, I know this old school, like with leather and paper in it, I want you to underline or circle those 2 words, you and me. Because he was finally ready to let go of all the other stuff and hold on to God, finally. And then he was ready to admit who he was. I will not let you go unless you bless me. Well, me who? Jacob had been so many different versions of himself. Well, who was it that you're actually going to be? Was it the edited version of you? Was it you pretending to be Esau? What version of you are you talking about? The real you? The honest you? The vulnerable you? Jacob finally realized that God couldn't bless who he pretended to be, so he got honest. I'm not letting go of you until you bless me. And not the me that I pretend to be. Not the me that I wish to be. Not the me that I want everybody to think that I am. The real me, the honest me, the me with all my flaws and my mistakes and my secret jealousies and my cynicism and my disbelief in my past, my present junk, my insecurity, my hope for the future, my anxiety about what all that is. I'm just coming as I am. It's me. I'm a hot mess, God. Just me. And I'm not letting you go until you bless me, this me. Because I can't go on without it. I'm exhausted from running. I'm exhausted from pretending to be someone I'm not. I need you to bless me, the real me. Verse 27. So the man asks him, what is your name? This is a heavy question. How many times have you been asked this question before? Who are you? What is your name? What did he say before? I mean, he saw it. Yeah, that's me. Puffed his chest a little bit. Lowered his voice. Yeah, Dad. I mean, he saw it. It's me. What's your real name? Who really are you? 4 times his father had to ask him, and every single time he lied. It's me, it's me. I got it. It's definitely me. For sure. But it wasn't him. So God asked him the question again. Let's retest you. Who are you? What is your name? Jacob, the answer. Finally, got honest. Check this out, verse 28. The man says to him, your name will no longer be Jacob. Remember, Jacob meant deceiver and schemer and liar and thief, grasping at heels and trying his best to scratch and claw to the top. He says, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel. Isn't it funny that when he finally got honest with who he was, it's the very moment that he became a brand new person.